What's up guys, ATCG here. Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day. Today we're doing another deck that finally got its final piece of support from TOON Chaos, and it happens to be my favorite deck of all time. This is Valkyries. We have now what it takes to make the deck an actual competitive deck. It's not tier 1 or anything. Maybe if Diviner over the Heralds ever comes out, maybe the deck can actually be competitive enough. But now it actually has a win condition that can use against the meta. And if you're looking for a standard Valkyrie deck, like the OTK version with Rite of the Valkyries and Mischief of the Time Goddess, comment down below if you want to see that, because that's not what I'm going to show you today. The OTK version I know is fun, I know it's like the anime that a lot of people enjoy, but it's not what gives you the wins. So this is the deck that if you're looking to win with the deck, that's what you want to see. If you want to see the more fun version, comment down below and I will prepare for that next. But for now, let's begin with the deck profile. Comment down below what other decks you want to see. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more amazing content. If you like this profile, give a thumbs up. And now, let's get to the deck profile. So to start off with the main deck, we have the new Valkyrie, Valkyrie Sigrun. She's pretty much exactly what the deck needed. The problem with the deck was that it didn't have a good way of getting monsters on the field aside from Rite of the Valkyries, but Sigrun actually does what she needs to do, because you can special summon her from the hand by sending a face-up spell or trap card you control to the grave, and then you can special summon a Valkyrie from your hand or graveyard, so you can summon the board without having to run Rite of the Valkyries, because Rite of the Valkyries doesn't help you going first, because no matter what you do, all your monsters are going to get shuffled back into the deck during the end phase, so that doesn't help, it's only going second card. So if you want to make a board, you cannot rely on that, but Sigrun actually breaks that rule, and she's also level 9, which is useful for two things, which I'm going to show you a little bit later, but her being level 9 actually couldn't have been any better for this deck. Moving on, 3 Brunhilde. Brunhilde is here as a 3-off because of her level mainly. Her effect is okay if you have on the field. She's like the most beefy Valkyrie. She gains 500 attack for every monster your opponent controls. She's unaffected by spells, so your opponent can't use cards like Lightning Storm on her. And if your opponent attacks, you can make her lose 1000 defense permanently. And all your Valkyries will be protected by battle for this turn. But the main reason she's here is because she's a level 7, which helps you facilitate the win condition of the deck that I will show you, which is probably one of the all-time classic win conditions fairies have been using ever since the card was released, to beat pretty much the majority of the meta. Next up, 3 Valkyrie Drita. Drita searches all your Valkyries. She can search Rite of the Valkyries too, but like I said, I'm not running this deck. You will search it to get whatever you need. If you need to bring out your Zexta to get a special summon more, if you already have the Sigrun, you can get that. You can get the Sigrun if you have a way of bringing her out, or you can get Brunhilde if you have the right cards in your hand to use the appropriate cards, because Brunhilde is level 7. So pretty much just that. And she can be used for Almiraj, because that's important. If you don't have anything else to summon with your Sigrun, you can summon your Drita, link her off, and then bring her back with your Sigrun, so you have 3 monsters on the field to get more plays. And the last Valkyrie that I'm running is 3 Valkyrie Zexta. She gets any Valkyrie out of your deck. She's also level 1, so you can use it for a Linguist Anima if you want to get rid of something your opponent has on the field, and you can search it whenever you want. And she is very accessible with a lot of cards and Valkyrie Sigrun. Now let's go to the generic fairy monsters. I'm playing the Venus engine in this deck because it's pretty much the best fairy you can have a lot of value from, because you can just get out your Appaloosa, you can get out your Skuldred to fix your hand, or you have negates. If you're going second, you can go for Boral Sword. With a Shine Bolt, you can do the Nightmare plays, so you can get rid of your opponent's boards. And I play a lot of cards in the deck that help you get fairies out of your hand on the field, so it might look like I have a lot of normal summons, but it actually doesn't really matter because I have a lot of ways to get them out of my hand. And the 3 Shine Bolts, because you have to get them out from the Venus. And just drawing them is not as big as people might think. Because of Union Carrier, if you just happen to draw 2 of them, you can summon one, make it Link Spider, summon another one from the hand, then you can make that a Link Spider too, and summon Union Carrier. And Union Carrier is really important because you can get a face-up spell from your deck as an equip card to have something to summon your Sigrun, and you can just equip Zexta from your deck because Union Carrier is a light, then summon Sigrun, then bring back the Zexta you sent to the grave because of Sigrun's effect. Zexta will special summon another Sigrun from the deck, and you have 2 level 9s, and I'm pretty sure everyone knows what comes when that happens. I'm also playing a Trickster engine because they have a good level, and they're good at locking backrow because of light stage, and this deck naturally struggles against backrow decks, so it's something that you need to deal with if you want to play this as a competitive level event. And of course, it helps you get more fairies in the grave because of the Lilybell's effect. You special summon herself, you can get more monsters on the field, and you need to have 4 fairies in the grave sometimes if you want to summon your win condition the natural way. Otherwise, they're just good beaters and they can do a lot. And unlike most Trickster engines, usually Surge Corbane, I run Lilybell because of her level. Being a level 2 means that you can downbeat her into Zexte or transmodify her into Venus. Corbane is level 5, so if you wanted to play targets, yes, you can downbeat for Dritte, which is not the best. You can transmodify her into Erste, which I don't run because I decided to cut all the Valkyries that do not offer anything for the combos, just to make it as competitive as possible and play as less bricks as I can possibly have in the deck. And this is why Lilybell is actually more important. She's not as good if you draw her, I know, because unlike Corbane, you cannot special summon her if you already have her, but she's one brick that I'm willing to play if it means having more consistent plays in my deck. And the last monster is the all-time win condition, 3 Archela Christia. You can special summon her in a lot of ways. You can bring her out from the hand with Valhalla. You can use her effect if you have 4 fairies in the grave, which Venus is really good about that, because 1 Venus of 3 Shine Balls means that you have 4 fairies in the grave, so you can summon your Link Spider, you can summon your Nimdak. With a 3rd Shine Ball and these 2 and Venus, you can summon your Appaloosa and then bring this on the field. You have like 4 negates and a monster that prevents your opponent from special summoning, which is huge against most decks. The only decks that this deck kind of naturally struggles against, like I said before, are backrow decks. If you play against Altergeist, the 1 Melusi can destroy your combo. If you're playing against Guru, they don't need to special summon to make something good. So yeah, against these decks, I think you can have your side deck handle them. But since the majority of the decks are decks like Adamantipator and stuff like that, or maybe Dragon Link, just having a Christie on the field is pretty much game. And if you know your opponent is running Lightning Storm, if you don't want to risk it, you can just summon her in defense mode, and that's pretty much going to deal with that too. Now let's go to the spells. Play 3 Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen. I didn't think this card was really good before because like it prevents you from summoning anything if you already have anything on the field, so it's pretty much a turn 1 play. And if you have everything established board, then it pretty much sits there. But because of Sigrun and because of her effect to special summon herself from the hand, if you have all the face-off spells and traps, you can just use this turn 1, and then if you draw a Sigrun later, you can just use it even if you have a field to bring out a Sigrun and another monster. So that's also pretty good. And like I said, I run a lot of normal summons, so I need cards that facilitate the monsters out of my hand so I don't brick. And it's the same thing with the next card I'll show you, which is Celestial Transformation. There's another card that can do something similar, which is called Photon Lead, but the problem with Photon Lead is that it only summons monsters that are level 4 or lower, and you run a lot of monsters that are high level, so I think just Celestial and Valhalla are good enough. If you find yourself breaking even with these, you can try out Photon Lead, but it's only good with Zexte, and if you have Brunhildes and Sigruns in your hand, that's not going to work, so I think these 6 are pretty much whatever you need. And this is a quick play, so if you have nothing for yourself, you can just set it, and during your opponent's turn, just special summon a Christia. It will blow up during the end phase, so you can play during the next turn and prevent your opponent from playing if they don't have an out. And now for the cards that are here because, like I've been talking about levels all this time, and this is why, Transmodify. This has a lot of purposes. It can facilitate Venus, and can facilitate your Dritte, and most importantly, it can facilitate your Christia. So Brunhilde is level 7, so you can Transmodify her into Christia. Your Lilybell is level 2, so you can use Transmodify to bring out your Venus, and that goes for any of the Shine Balls, but unfortunately if you do that, you will not have 3 Shine Balls to summon from the deck, you will have 2, but if you already have a Christie in your hand, that's good enough because you will have 4 fairies in the grave anyway, and you can pretty much do whatever you need with this card. And the counterpart that helps you downgrade your levels, Downbeat. This is why being level 9 for Sigrun is really important, not only because of Calamities, because people just think that Calamities is the all-time win condition. It will be if we ever get Diviner of the Heralds and Calamities is still not banned, which I doubt, but we'll see. But just Sigrun being level 9, you can downbeat her into your Christia. Candina is level 4, you can downbeat her into Venus, same with Dritte. Lilybell is level 2, so you can downbeat her into Zexte and get another Sigrun from your deck or whatever you need. So that's why I said that Lilybell is a lot better than Corbane, because you can downbeat her into Zexte, transmodify her into Venus, so that's pretty good. And the one-off spells. 1 for 1 because of Zexte. Light Stage, just to have something to deal with some backer in case you run into a deck like that. And the 1 Terraforming to search your Light Stage, so you don't have to always summon your Candina. Because if your Candina gets ashed, then if you have already your Terraforming or your Light Stage, then you can get your Lilybell this way, and it's basically baiting one of your opponent's hand traps. And now let's go to the extra deck. We have 1 Almiraz. Almiraz is here not because of Hita. I do not even run Hita. I don't have space in the deck for that. It's here because, like I said, if you have your Drita, if your opponent doesn't have anything banished, because Drita gains 200 attack for each of your opponent's banished monsters, so that will cause her to rise to 12 or more, so you won't be able to use Almiraz on her. But if she's at 1000, then you can just link her into Almiraz, then special summon the Sigrun you searched, then Sigrun will get back your Drita from the grave, so it's basically a way to get more monsters on the field. One Trickster Bloom. Bloom is here because of a combo there is with the Tricksters that you can use to have 4 fairies in the grave. You basically summon Candina, you search your Lilybell, you make Lilybell into Bloom, then using Bloom and Candina you summon Barricade Bork Blocker, and with Barricade Bork Blocker you can discard any fairy from your hand. You will not even need its effect just to discard. And then you have 4 fairies in the grave because you have Candina, Lilybell, Bloom, and the 1 fairy you discarded with Barricade Bork Blocker, and then you can just drop Christia with that, so that's why she's here. Do not ever use her effect because you just give a free card to your opponent, doesn't matter. So you just have her here to have more fairies in the grave. 1 Imdek, because of Venus, you know all too well that you need to have this into summon Skaldred and Apollousa with 4 materials. 2 Link Spiders, because of the off-chance scenario that you draw 2 Shine Balls. I just tried to cover all the possible scenarios because the balls are supposedly the bricks of the deck, so I wanted to make sure that even if I draw them, I can do stuff. So even if I draw 2 Shine Balls, I can still summon Union Carrier, and when you summon Union Carrier, then basically means Sigrun is live, and you can just equip a Zexte, send that Zexte to the grave for Sigrun's effect, summon Sigrun, Sigrun will get back the Zexte, and the Zexte will bring out another Sigrun on the deck, so you can summon Calamities this way. And that's just by drawing 2 Shine Balls and a Sigrun, so yeah, that's pretty good, I think. 1 Anima, because of Zexte, she's level 1, this card just deals with problematic monsters, it's a really good card not to have if you can summon it in your deck. 1 Union Carrier, which is basically the best card in the extra deck for this deck, because you can just make Sigrun live all the time. People were thinking that with Sigrun, yeah, you can just have Valhalla, but it's not searchable unless you play Hecatrice, which is not very optimal. You could play the Goddesses, which are not very good in the deck because you need to have only Valkyries on the field in order to use them, to search the others, and they don't really do anything aside from making your Valkyries untargetable, but your Valkyries are not really the win conditions, they just facilitate the win conditions, so that wouldn't matter. But having Union Carrier, just equipping anything from your deck, you can always have a face-up spell card on the field to send for Sigrun. 1 Barricade Bork Blocker, because of the combo I told you about with your Tricksters, to have for fairies in the grave. 1 Nightmare Phoenix to deal with back row. 1 Nightmare Unicorn to link climb. Sometimes, if you transmodify one of your Shine Balls to make a summon a Venus, then you won't have 3 Shine Balls in the deck, so you will just summon 2. So you need any kind of link 3, have 4 fairies in the grave for Christia, so Unicorn is 1. Or you can summon Tristana, which is here because against back row decks you need sometimes to destroy them. This is very good if you side red reboot and then you happen to draw that 1 red reboot if you're lucky, and then you can just summon this and blow them away. 1 Apollousa, which is the play you will go to if you don't have Christia in your hand, because it's risky to summon Skaldred hoping to draw Christia, and if you don't Christia you can't do anything. If you already have Christia, then Apollousa is really good, but just summoning Apollousa for 4 against some decks, it might be enough to stop them. I know there are decks right now that just having an Apollousa for 4 is not enough, but against mediocre decks it can work. But if you have just that just think that it's the most limited amount of plays you can have if you can just summon Apollousa, but if you have summon Calamities or on top of her, or a Christia, and that's pretty much game. 1 Skaldred to try to search for cards. If you already have Christia and you have more fairies in the grave than you need, that you can just summon her with Skaldred's effect. Skaldred also helps you get Sigrun out from your hand if you don't have any fairy, if you have face-up spells, so you can use that to summon Calamities and dig for all your plays. 1 Boral Sword, because Venus going second is a monster, just by summoning Boral Sword can easily decay. And the 1 Calamities, because it's Calamities, everyone thought that it would be in here when Sigrun got released, and yeah, they were right, it's really good. Like I said, if we get Diviner of the Heralds, Calamities is still around, the deck is going to be even more powerful. We're going to update the deck if that happens, so be on the lookout for that too. So yeah, that's the deck, guys. I know it's not the most classic Valkyrie deck that doesn't utilize a lot of the cards that the archetype has, but it's the most consistent version, it's the most competitive version. Again, if you want to see the more fun version with Ride of the Valkyries, maybe I can include the Goddesses too. Comment down below if you want to see that. It will be a casual version of the deck that I'm really happy to do because I enjoy playing the Valkyries the way they're supposed to be played. But I made this deck specifically to be able to compete at locals and regionals. So I tried to give the deck the power it needed to be able to defeat the meta decks. So yeah, again, guys, if you enjoyed this video, comment down below, like the video, subscribe to our channel. Anything you want to see, we will try to do it. Until then, we'll see you next time.